Seattle rain falls with a considerate quiet just enough to blur the bus 29's window, and the wipers swipe thin strokes like someone erasing an old memory. I sat by the window clutching a bouquet of yellow tulips wrapped in craft paper, the only gift I thought Leo would like, and tried to swallow the lump tightening my throat. 72 years old, alone in a Ballard house that's felt larger since Robert left. Every time my hand grazes the empty spot on the living room sofa, my heart skips. Today is my grandson's 8th birthday. I chose a mouse gray wool coat, not too dark so as not to bring a funereal mood, as Marcus advised when he handed me the card. Mom, if you come, please keep it light. Don't be too sad. Don't kill the vibe. Kill the vibe. The words were a shard of ice skimming skin. Since Robert died, people say I linger in my grief. Maybe they're right, but I've tried. I trimmed the black vases, put away the funeral photo, and forced myself to go outside. I walk the Fremont Canal each morning, practice chatting with neighbors instead of nodding. I signed up for the community center's evening art class. I call my son more often. I sidestep questions that pry open old wounds and use neat, tidy lines like "I'm fine, I've eaten." Still, on some mornings, standing in the kitchen listening to the kettle whistle, I feel a hole inside the house. The bus stopped at the base of Queen Anne Hill. I got off, rain beaded on my shoulders. Marcus had just moved to a 3-story gray-blue house with a warm wooden porch and a classic wreath. I heard birthday music spilling out children's laughter braided with adult voices and the sweet, sharp punch of fruit soda, like every party where I never quite belong. I wiped my shoes on the mat, inhaled, straightened my collar, and rang the bell. The door opened. Jennifer, my daughter-in-law, stood there, lips pink, cheeks highlighted. Her eyes skimmed. We paused a second at the tulips, then arranged into a standard-issue smile. "Oh, you're here. Come in." Her mom always sounded flat like a drywall panel. "Happy birthday to Leo," I said, holding out the bouquet. "Yellow tulips, he likes yellow." She took them a slight hitch. Let me see if we have a vase. Could you put your coat over there?" She flicked her eyes to a rack and a beat later turned to someone else. Her laugh touched the ceiling. Marcus walked out of the kitchen. My son's eyes touched me and slid away like a mirror angled askew. He kissed my cheek quick. "You made it. I'm tied up. The photographer just arrived. We'll do a family shot soon. Make yourself comfortable." "Where's my boy?" I looked around. "Leo's in the living room and—" "Mom." "Let's keep it cheerful. Yeah, you understand." Lowered voice, last sentence, velvet-wrapped knife. I nodded, though my throat burned. I know my sadness can make others awkward, but today I just wanted to hug the kid. I drifted into the living room through blue superhero balloons and a giant backdrop that read "Leo is 8." He sat in a pile of presents, brown hair cropped high, eyes bright as chocolate drops. I touched his shoulder light as a fingertip on sunlight. "Leo," I murmured. He turned, his mouth lifting, then darted a look over my shoulder. For a sliver, I thought there'd be a hug. But Marcus appeared behind me. "Firm, Mom, not right now. We need Leo for the family photo. Just one hug, Marcus." I tried to smile. "The photographer was waiting," he said dryly and squinted a signal at Jennifer. She glided over and steered Leo away, her soft hand on his shoulder like a fresh-pressed cloth smoothing wrinkles. I stepped back to a side table of juice cups and lightning bolt cookies. A plastic cup sat empty. I picked it up, put it down. Marcus's friends came to shake my hand, each line identical. "You're Marcus's mom. You look so young, so lovely to see the whole family together." I nodded, feeling like a decorative object moved from corner to corner, fine to have, easy to ignore. "Carter family eyes here," the photographer called. I stood instinctively, but Marcus waved me off. "Mom, we'll do us 3 first, then grandparents." I sat again. "Grandparents, Robert is gone." "Which grandparents?" I swallowed. Nearby, a woman whispered, "That's Jennifer's mother-in-law. She looks sad." Another replied, "Yeah, recently widowed, probably hasn't gotten through it." I lowered my head to my wrinkled hands. The middle knuckle on my left throbbed, a souvenir from night shifts at Mercy General. Before coming, I'd opened the wooden box in the cupboard for the silver barrette Robert once found at a flea market, clipped it over thin white hair, and told myself, "Today, we will be happy. Stand still, smile, hug, Leo." But joy at the threshold was pushed back by invisible rules of good vibes. "Happy birthday" began. I sang along, forcing the tears to settle deep in my bones. Leo blew the candles out. In that breathless flicker, I made a simple wish, May he remember the lavender soap on my hands, our walks to Ballard Locks to watch the salmon, the banana bread I always scorch at the edges. May he remember me without anyone's permission. The party ebbed. Adults grabbed extra photos, swapped business cards, and compared the new car parked out front. Kids thundered upstairs, laughter cascading over the banister. Jennifer bustled. Whenever I approached, she let me do nothing, lightly touching my sleeve before turning away. I felt like I carried an incompatible scent. At last, a small pocket of time. Leo sat on the stairs, twirling a balloon string. "Leo," I asked quietly, "do you like the yellow tulips?" He nodded, eyes down. "I do. Where did you put them? In the kitchen. Your mom's finding a vase." He paused, then looked up. "Grandma, Mom says you get sad a lot. Could you not be unhappy at my party?" He flinched at his own words and hid behind the balloon. The ground opened under my feet. Not because of his line, he was only repeating adults, but because I realized my grief had been labeled a contagious nuisance, like a cold. I smiled steady. "I'm not sad. I'm happy you're 8. I stroked his hair. "I turn the porch light on every night, so if you ever drop by, you won't be afraid of the dark. I can drop by." His eyes brightened. "Of course. Anytime your dad says yes." Marcus appeared as if summoned. "Leo downstairs. Big gift opening." He looked at me. "Mom, head out early. I've got people to see. And about rent this month, could you?" I looked at him. Rain thickened on the porch, crisp on the railing. In my head, the list of bills I'd covered: security deposit on the first apartment, copay for his wrist, Leo's preschool tuition, the towed car from a bad parking spot. My reflex to pull out the wallet. In this so-called nest, my wallet suddenly felt like a power strip everyone could plug into. "Marcus," I said, slow, "not this month." His brow pinched. "What, no more?" "I need to protect my retirement, and you need to learn to manage on your own." I kept my voice calm while my hands went cold. "Seriously, you always—" He lowered his voice. "Please don't embarrass me in front of people. Dignity isn't in my wallet, Marcus." I was even surprised that the sentence had come clean. All those nights alone taught me a blunter language. His eyes darkened, jaw set. "You always have to control everything, just like Dad." The stone flicked from a slingshot. Robert had been strict, yes. Controlling. He worked 12 hours daily, so this house had light and heat. I opened my mouth, closed it. Not during Leo's birthday. I tugged my sleeve down and turned away. I reached for my coat in the kitchen and scanned for the tulips. Gone. I opened the cupboard beside the sink. Amid black trash bags and boxes, the yellow tulips lay on their side stems, uncut, wrapping soaked. I drew them out, dried the stems, trimmed the ends under the faucet, found a glass vase, rinsed it, and filled it with warm water. The petals loosened like stray sun. Jennifer came in and paused. "Oh, why put them there?" I was going to "Never mind, I'll take it." She reached for the vase. I shifted, smiled. "Let me." I set the vase on the bar front and center. For the first time all evening, I put something exactly where it belonged. I slipped to the porch. Rain had softened. Downtown was a dusting of sugar beyond the hills. Under the eaves, palm to chest, I felt my heart beat steady, while another voice, mine, whispered, "Enough, Evelyn. Draw the line." When I turned back, Marcus was chatting with a well-cut man in his 40s in a tailored suit with glossy hair. The man leaned in, grinning. Across the room, Jennifer's eyes flicked toward them so fast you'd mistake it for a reflection if you weren't watching. "I remembered yesterday's call, Mom. I might be late on rent, some partner payments." "What partner?" Why did I feel like a stranger at a lit window watching from outside? I opened notes and typed a single line. "No October rent. Reason son's independence. Agreement support. Leo only school health." I had no idea where the sentence would lead, but it was a rope pulling me from the bog. The party ended. I asked Leo for a hug. No one stopped us this time. He hugged hard, warm child hair at my neck. "Don't turn the porch light off," he whispered. "I won't," I said, "as long as you know the way." On the way home, the rain thinned. I strolled up the hill, bag tapping my hip. My shoes brushed wet leaves, pages of an old notebook. When I turned toward the bus stop, I saw Jennifer with the slick-suited man through a cafe window on Stoneway. She tilted her head and set a hand on his wrist. He smiled and leaned in. Their hands overlapped like rehearsal. I stood behind the rain-fogged glass still. It could be business. Perhaps I was tired and imagining, maybe. But eyes tell the rest. I didn't take a photo. I didn't barge in. I let 3 breaths pass, turned away. A fine needle pricked my chest. Either I'm wrong or I'm about to lose my son all over again. That night I got home, flipped the porch light on, and set the tulips in Robert's old vase. Gold glowed across the wooden table. I wrote another list. What belongs to me, the Ballard house, my retirement account, Robert's photos, the silver beret, and a new boundary. I signed my name. For the first time in months, my signature didn't shake. If you want to follow Evelyn's journey, a grandmother learning to stand tall against a family storm, please follow the channel, leave a comment about your take on boundaries in kinship, and like, so I know you want more. Thank you for staying till the end. The next morning, Seattle was blanketed in fog so thick my window held only a milky white. The garbage truck's slow groan felt like the city's heavy breathing. I sat at the table with a still folded paper and a cold coffee. I hadn't slept. Images from the party kept looping, Marcus dodging my gaze, Jennifer's winner's smile. I wasn't angry, not in the old way. I felt hollow, like I'd let go of the last rope tying me to family. On the table, the yellow tulips had fully opened. Petals trembled whenever a draft sneaked in. Robert used to say that flowers that open fast fade fast, but at least for that moment they live as they are. I smiled, tired. He wouldn't be surprised to see me now, an older woman relearning to live truthfully after decades of giving. The landline rang. I hesitated, then picked up. "Hi, Mom, it's me." Marcus's voice was a traffic noise behind him. "I need to talk." I knew before he said it. I gripped the phone. "It's about money." He sighed. "Don't take this wrong. This month's tight. My commission's delayed and the rent's due. I need help this one time." This one time, the letters were so familiar that I could etch them in caps. I inhaled. "I told you, Marcus. I can't anymore. You have to manage. Do you hear yourself?" He snapped. "Do you want Leo and me on the street? Jennifer's struggling and you're making it worse." "Jennifer," I steadied my voice. "She's got a good job. She manages accounts for Colton Hale's firm." He paused. "How do you know that name? You said it at the party." Or, "I misheard, I kept it light though." My heart thudded. I didn't want to smash our little thread, but my gut said something was very wrong. "Mom." "Stop meddling," Marcus barked. "I'm asking for a small amount. I'll pay you back. I promise." "How many times have you promised?" I asked softly. "I co-signed for tuition, a car, and a loan. I never said no, Marcus. But today I can't." Silence. Then a short, cold laugh. "You always think you're right. You want to run everything, including my life. Dad did that, and now you're him. Congrats, you became who you hate." He hung up before I could answer. I sat still. Outside moisture ticked on the awning like someone tapping a countdown on trust. Some things kids say aren't meant to hurt, but still do because there's some truth. I had managed, preempted, and rescued him from small messes until they bloomed into storms. I'd sacrificed until I forgot where the edge was. Now I was learning to redraw it even late. In the afternoon, I went out. Puget Sound air wet my hair. I stopped at the corner cafe on Stoneway where I'd seen Jennifer last night. Through the glass, it was quiet, 2 people at the counter. I took a seat by the window and ordered ginger tea. Steam blurred my reflection. Mrs. Carter, what a coincidence. Mrs. Parker, an old Ballard neighbor now in Queen Anne, appeared. She sat with a friendly smile and curious eyes. "I saw Marcus and his wife at a partner event last week. They looked busy." I smiled thinly. "Yes, successful. I heard Jennifer works with someone named Colton. They're close. Office talk says." "It's just work," I cut in gently. "He's Marcus's partner." She stopped reading my face, but it confirmed my hunch. An investment, late rent. Jennifer's glance when I came in, pieces were clicking. When she left, the traffic light turned amber, reflecting on wet asphalt. I scrolled through Marcus's old text. "If you send money, put it into our joint account. Jen handles expenses, joint account." I'd never seen Marcus keep his own pocket. If Jennifer controlled everything. I understood how easily things slid from my hands. That evening, I opened the safe with financial papers. Savings books, the house deed, a copy of Robert's will in his shaky but firm hand. Our assets to Evelyn and Marcus at Evelyn's discretion. It felt like he was speaking across the room. "Don't let kindness be used against you." I resealed it in a new envelope, a decision clear as a pin of light in thick fog. I called the bank to update beneficiaries and temporarily suspended the joint access Marcus once had. When asked why I kept it simple, privacy protection. My voice was calm. It felt like stepping over a threshold. Afterward, I stood in the kitchen and watched the clock. 10:30. I imagined Marcus discovering it and calling angry as before. The phone stayed silent. Maybe the storm was charging elsewhere. Monday at the market, my phone buzzed from an unknown number. Mrs. Carter, we should meet. About Jennifer Reed. I know what you saw the other night. I froze between aisles, reread it. Signed Donovan Investigations. A PI. Did someone know I'd been there? Or a lure? The last line kept me. If you want to keep yourself and Marcus safe, don't call the police. Let's talk privately. My pulse kicked. Since Robert died, I don't believe in coincidence. It could be a warning. Perhaps someone knew more than I did. I left the cart, stepped into the rain, and typed today 4 p.m. Blue Harbor Cafe, Fremont. Sent. I leaned back in my seat, eyes closed. Worry and fear braided with something else, exhilaration. After years of being sidelined, I did what Robert urged, stand up for myself. At 4, Blue Harbor glowed warm with roasted coffee. A middle-aged man in a leather jacket sat in the back. He stood hand out Mrs. Evelyn Carter Donovan. His handshake was warm and measured. His gaze was direct, and he was not prying, no need to worry. Mrs. Parker's friend referred you. She said you're in trouble with your daughter-in-law. I stayed quiet. I'm not hiring anyone to spy. No, but you might consider it. He slid a manila envelope across. Jennifer Reed and a man named Colton Hale. They see each other more than colleagues. And there are suspicious financial transfers. You should look. Inside, photos of Jennifer and Colton entering a restaurant, then a small Capitol Hill hotel, a bank printout for Reed and Hale LLC with transfers from Marcus and Jennifer's joint account, Marcus's money. What do you want from me? I asked. Nothing except for you to protect yourself. You're a target. I suspect they're painting you as unstable to gain control. If you don't act, they'll take everything. A ship horn moaned from the port, long and low. I gripped the papers. They felt like cold metal. Life was tilting to a path I never expected at 72. We can gather legal evidence, Donovan said calmly. But we have to move before they move the assets. Are you willing? I looked at him then out the window. Across the street, late light pierced rain and threw back a reflection of a woman with silver hair and steady eyes. I nodded. I am. That night I got home late. The porch light glowed a promise to Leo. I opened my notebook and added a line under what belongs to me, the truth. Outside, the rain stopped. The city was quiet enough for me to hear the clock's even beat. Somewhere, maybe Jennifer was sleeping in a warm house, but I'd given up. But this older woman has never learned the meaning of giving up. I closed the book and blew out the candle. In the dark, the porch light slipped in like a vow. The fight has only begun. Seattle's rain came down in thin silver threads, steady and endless, like someone quietly unspooling a memory you didn't want to remember. Evelyn sat by the kitchen window, hands wrapped around a mug of coffee that had long gone cold. Across the street, the maple trees in Fremont stood dripping their branches heavy with last night's water. She'd been sitting there for nearly an hour, staring at the porch light that still glowed even though it was morning. The one she'd promised Leo she'd always keep on. But today it felt like the light was mocking her, bright constant, a symbol of something she no longer believed in. Her phone buzzed. The screen lit up with an unknown number. For a moment she thought it might be Marcus, maybe calling to apologize for what he said, or at least to explain. But when she answered, it was a man's voice, calm, low, deliberate. Mrs. Carter. This is Donovan. We met yesterday. She straightened in her chair. Yes. What is it? I've found something. Jennifer Reed, your daughter-in-law, she's involved in more than just an affair. Evelyn's fingers tightened around the mug. What do you mean there's financial manipulation? Several accounts under her name and Marcus's, but the transactions don't match his income. Someone's transferring money out, large amounts, to a joint company with her associate Colton Hale. For a long second she didn't speak. The sound of rain filled the silence, tapping against the window like a warning. Why are you telling me this? She asked finally. Because it's your money too, Donovan said. Your son may not realize it, but they've been using the inheritance his father left. If this continues, you could lose everything. Evelyn's breath caught. Robert's savings, his life's work. The thought of Jennifer's painted nails signing those withdrawal slips made her stomach twist. What do I do now? I'll get you evidence. But be careful. If Jennifer or Marcus suspects you know they'll move faster. Don't confront them yet. When the call ended, Evelyn sat there listening to the rain. It felt heavier now. Every drop on the window pane was another warning, another truth she wasn't ready to face. That evening, she went through the old wooden chest Robert used to keep under the stairs. Inside were decades of paperwork, tax returns, insurance policies, deeds. She found the folder marked retirement funds, which Robert had told her to protect. The numbers still made sense, but for the first time she realized how vulnerable it all was. She placed the papers back carefully and sat on the floor. Her reflection in the glass cabinet across the room looked older, wearier, but steadier. Not again, she whispered. I won't let anyone take this. 2 days later, she received another call, this time from Marcus. Mom, I need you to stop talking to people about Jennifer, he said sharply. She told me you've been asking questions. It's making her uncomfortable. I'm not talking to anyone, she lied smoothly. But I should be. She's hiding something, Marcus. Don't start again. His tone was louder now, defensive. You're just trying to turn me against her. She said you might. She said what? That you're not doing well since Dad passed, that you've been confused, forgetful, paranoid. The words hit harder than she expected. She let out a slow breath, forcing calm into her voice. So that's what she's telling you, Marcus said you should get help, but his voice faltered near the end. You've been through a lot. I'm fine, Evelyn said quietly, but if you keep letting her decide what's real, you won't soon know what's true. He didn't answer, just hung up. The silence that followed felt colder than the rain outside. That night she sat at her desk and wrote in her notebook, They're building a story about me. Unstable, paranoid. It's how they'll take control. She underlined the words twice. For the first time in months, she wasn't afraid. She was angry, a sharper, cleaner feeling than grief. The letter from the clinic came on a Tuesday morning. It was folded neatly printed on white paper with calm, professional words that didn't match the panic they carried. Recommendation for psychological evaluation. Evelyn stared at it for a long while, unsure if she should laugh or cry. She didn't need to ask who had arranged it. That afternoon, Marcus and Jennifer arrived together. He stood by the door, awkward eyes down. Jennifer, however, looked radiant as ever, hair pulled back, smile sweet as syrup. Mom, Marcus began. We're worried about you. Worried, Evelyn echoed. Yes, Jennifer said softly. You've been erratic. You threw a glass at me. Evelyn's eyes widened. You twisted everything. That glass hit the floor, not you. It doesn't matter where it hit, Jennifer replied calmly. It scared Leo. And Marcus. You've been under a lot of stress, haven't you? Evelyn's voice trembled, not from fear, but fury. You're trying to make me look insane. Marcus stepped forward. Mom, please. We want to help. There's a good facility. She laughed bitter and short. A facility? You're sending me away. It's temporary, Jennifer said, laying a hand on Marcus's arm until she feels better. The moment she touched him, something in Evelyn snapped. She saw how Marcus's shoulders eased under that touch, how easily he surrendered. You're both making a mistake, she said, and when you realize it, I hope it's not too late. But by the end of the week, the men in gray suits were at her door. The ride to the facility was silent. Raindrops streaked the window, blurring the city into streaks of light. Evelyn pressed her palm to the glass, watching her world drift farther away. Inside the sterile white halls, everything smelled of antiseptic and fear. A nurse guided her to a small room with a single bed, a desk, and a window with bars. This is temporary, the nurse said kindly. Evelyn nodded but said nothing. When the door clicked shut, she sat on the edge of the bed, hands trembling. For a long moment she felt the weight of everything pressing down, the betrayal, the loneliness, the disbelief that her son had signed the papers. But under that weight, something inside her hardened. They thought she was powerless. They were wrong. Days blurred into one another. Nurses came and went, checking vitals, leaving pills in paper cups. Evelyn took them, pretended to swallow, and hid them under her pillow. She smiled when spoken to. She played the part of the recovering patient, quiet and compliant. It was the only way to buy time. Donovan visited once, disguised as a relative. He slid a small recorder into her hand during a hug. Get her talking, he whispered. Confession is stronger than proof. And so she waited. Jennifer and Marcus visited every few days. Marcus looked tired, almost remorseful. Jennifer looked triumphant. When they arrived on Friday, Evelyn's plan began. Daniel's been busy, hasn't he, she said, casually using Marcus's middle name, one only she used. Jennifer smiled faintly. Yes. He's finally managing things without your interference. You mean managing my money? Evelyn said lightly, her voice calm as the nurse took notes near the door. Have you already sold the house? Jennifer's eyes flickered just a second, but enough. Of course not, she said quickly. It's being handled legally for your care. Evelyn tilted her head. And when I die, whose name does it fall under? Jennifer hesitated again. Ours naturally, Daniel's and mine. That was all Evelyn needed. She smiled, slow, deliberate. Thank you. That's comforting. The recorder in her pocket caught every word. That night, she uploaded the audio from the standard room computer. Donovan confirmed receipt. We have what we need. Stay put. Legal team moving in 48 hours. For the first time in months, Evelyn slept soundly. Morning sunlight spilled through the barred window. Evelyn woke to the sound of footsteps in the corridor, heavier than usual. The door opened. Mrs. Carter said the nurse, "You have a visitor." It was Donovan, dressed in gray, carrying an envelope. "It's over," he said quietly, closing the door. "Jennifer's confession was filed with your lawyer this morning. The court granted emergency release. You're going home. Home." The word nearly broke her. When she stepped out of the facility's gates later that afternoon, Seattle's sky was soft blue for the first time in weeks. The rain had stopped. They drove straight to Marcus's house. Donovan waited in the car while Evelyn stood at the door clutching the envelope that held the truth. Jennifer opened it. Her smile froze when she saw Evelyn standing there, hair neat, eyes calm, alive. "You," she began, but Evelyn cut her off. "I came to return something," she said, holding out the recorder. Marcus appeared behind Jennifer, pale. "Mom." "Play it," Evelyn said. Jennifer lunged forward, but Marcus snatched the recorder first. He pressed play. Her voice filled the hall, clear, cruel, undeniable. "The house is gone. The car is gone. Everything she had, it's all mine now." When the recording ended, silence devoured the room. Jennifer's face drained of color. Marcus's eyes widened, his mouth trembling as if words were too heavy to form. "I told you," Evelyn said softly. "I'm not crazy. Just heartbroken." Jennifer tried to protest, but Marcus turned away. "Enough!" His voice cracked. "You've done enough." Within days, Jennifer was arrested for fraud, coercion, and embezzlement. The news spread quickly. Donovan's team ensured the evidence reached the authorities. Evelyn watched it all unfold, not with joy, but quiet exhaustion. Vindication was never as sweet as she'd imagined. It only left emptiness where love used to be. But at least the truth was free. Seattle was unusually quiet that morning. The rain had stopped, leaving the streets damp and reflective, as if the city itself was trying to remember how to breathe again. Evelyn stood by the window of her old Ballard home, a mug of tea in hand, watching the fog curl around the lampposts. Jennifer was gone, arrested, charge stripped of her masks. The newspapers had covered it briefly, local accountant accused of financial fraud and manipulation. To everyone else, it was just another scandal. To Evelyn, it was the sound of a storm finally passing. But the silence that followed was heavier than the chaos. Marcus hadn't called, not once since the arrest. No apologies, no explanations. Only an occasional message from his lawyer about paperwork and legal formalities. Evelyn knew he was drowning in shame. She also knew that some wounds needed solitude to heal. Still at night, when she sat in the armchair Robert had once favored, the loneliness pressed against her chest like a physical weight. She had fought for the truth, but truth had its price. It had left her house emptier than ever. A week later, there was a knock on the door. She opened it to find Marcus standing there, thinner, paler eyes, hollow. For a long moment, they just looked at each other. "Can I come in?" he asked quietly. She stepped aside without a word. Inside, he stood awkwardly by the mantel, staring at the framed photo of Robert in his hospital uniform. "I didn't know where else to go," he said finally. "You're home," she replied softly. He turned to her, voice breaking. "Mom, I'm sorry. For everything. For not believing you. For letting her." Evelyn shook her head. "You don't owe me an apology. You owe yourself forgiveness." Marcus sank into the couch, elbows on his knees. "I thought I was protecting my family. Turns out I was destroying it." "You were blinded by love," she said gently. "And that's not a crime, but you can't stay blind forever." He looked up, eyes rimmed with exhaustion. "Leo doesn't understand what's happening. He keeps asking when his mom's coming home." Evelyn's heart tightened. Tell him the truth, but gently. Lies only grow sharper with time. Marcus nodded, then fell silent. The clock ticked between them, steady, forgiving. That night, after Marcus left, Evelyn sat down and wrote in her journal. He came back not as a son asking for help, but as a man finally learning to face his mistakes. For the first time in months, she slept without waking in the middle of the night. Outside, the porch light burned steadily. Weeks passed. The legal battle ended faster than anyone expected. Jennifer's sentencing made the local news: 5 years for fraud, 2 for coercion. Evelyn didn't attend the trial. She didn't need to see Jennifer again to know she had already won. But winning wasn't the feeling she expected. There was no joy or sense of victory, only a hollow quiet that follows a long cry. Marcus visited more often now. He brought Leo sometimes, who always ran straight for the backyard swing. The first time he came, Evelyn worried Leo would avoid her, and that the poison Jennifer had planted would linger. But when the boy hugged her small arms tight around her waist, she felt the air return to her lungs. "Grandma," he whispered, "Dad said you helped save us." Evelyn smiled, blinking back tears. "No, sweetheart. I just reminded your dad what family means." In the evening, she started painting again, something she hadn't done since before Robert's death. Her canvases filled slowly with color, foggy city streets, the Puget Sound. At dawn, the reflection of a porch light in puddles after rain. One night, Marcus stopped by while she was finishing a piece. "That's beautiful," he said. "What's it called?" "Reclamation," she answered. He studied it for a while, the muted blues and soft golds, the suggestion of something broken being rebuilt. "It fits," he said finally. Evelyn wiped her brush and turned to him. "How's Leo?" "He's doing better," Marcus said. "He asks fewer questions now. He started sleeping through the night." "And you?" He hesitated. "I don't know who I am without her. I know she was toxic, but I got used to the noise. Now the quiet feels strange." Evelyn understood. "That quiet," she said, "is where you rebuild yourself. Please don't rush to fill it." Marcus nodded, but his eyes were distant. When he left, she returned to her painting, adding one last streak of light across the water, thin but steady. Spring came early that year. The cherry blossoms bloomed pale pink along the streets of Queen Anne. Evelyn found herself walking every morning, the scent of wet petals clinging to her coat. She'd started volunteering at the community shelter again. It felt good to do something that wasn't about survival or defense, to help simply because she could. One afternoon, she came home to find Marcus sitting on her porch steps. "Leo's inside," he said. "He's doing homework." She smiled. "And you're hiding from math problems?" He chuckled. "Something like that." Then his tone changed. "Mom, I've been thinking. I want to adopt Leo legally." Evelyn blinked. "Adopt him?" "But he's already yours." Marcus shook his head. "Not by blood." Jennifer admitted in one of her depositions that Colton might be his father. Evelyn's breath caught. "Oh, Marcus." "I don't care," he said firmly. "I raised him. He's my son. I want to make it official." Tears pricked her eyes. "Then do it, and I'll stand by you." He exhaled, shoulders trembling. "You still believe in me after everything?" She reached for his hand. "Belief isn't about who you were, Marcus. It's about who you're trying to become." That evening, she helped Leo bake cookies in the kitchen. The boys' laughter filled the house, bouncing off the walls like sunlight. She caught Marcus watching from the doorway, his face soft, tired, but hopeful. It was the first time she'd seen him smile without guilt. Later that night, Evelyn sat by her window journal open. "Forgiveness isn't forgetting, it's remembering without the weight. He is learning. I am healing. And for once, that's enough." She closed the book. Outside, the rain had returned, but now it sounded like music. 6 months later, the Ballard house no longer felt haunted. Evelyn had repainted the living room, replaced the old curtains with soft cream fabric, and planted roses in the garden. The tulips, yellow as ever, bloomed again by the porch. She had rebuilt quietly, piece by piece. The new Evelyn wasn't the same woman who'd once stood crying over a party invitation in her kitchen. She was lighter now, though her scars still ached when it rained. Marcus came by every weekend with Leo. They'd cook breakfast together, pancakes always too many, and afterward Leo would help water the flowers. "Grandma," he said one morning, "why do you always keep the porch light on even in daytime?" She smiled. "It reminds me that some lights never go out. Even when they are bright, you must know the way home." Satisfied with the answer, he grinned and chased a butterfly. That afternoon, Marcus sat with her on the porch. Mom, he said quietly, I filed the papers. Leo's officially mine now. Evelyn felt tears warm her cheeks. Robert would be proud of you. He nodded. I think so too. They sat silently for a long while, watching the sky turn from gold to gray. The rain came again, soft, forgiving. Do you ever regret it? Marcus asked suddenly. Fighting and losing so much to win. Evelyn looked out at the garden, at the yellow tulips swaying gently in the drizzle. No, she said, because what I won back wasn't money or revenge, it was I. That night after they left, Evelyn lit a single candle on the kitchen table. Its flame reflected in the window, steady, unwavering. She wrote one final line in her journal. I've learned that family can wound you deeper than anyone else, but it can also be the hand that helps you stand again. And I will always keep the light on no matter how dark it gets. She closed the book. Outside, the porch light glowed against the rain. Seattle exhaled softly, and Evelyn Carter was finally entirely free.